Good afternoon. Hopefully you can hear me out there. Good afternoon, Sebastian. Good to have you with us today. So it's Monday. It's time for another online Avolites training session. Good afternoon. Sam has just joined us in the chat room as well. So today you've got a session from me doing an AI session. We're going to look a bit more at the screen output page today. There's quite a few things that I haven't really looked at in the last few sessions. And Gordon's there as well. Good afternoon to you, Gordon. And Fadley Noor, I really do not know what kind of accent to put on that, so we're just going to go with that one. Good afternoon, all of you. So without further ado, like I say, it's me for an hour today. Then on Wednesday we've got a sort of a live chat thing going on, and then Friday you've got both myself and Gordon. So lots to come this week. And good afternoon to Joseph as well. I'm not sure if it's Joseph or Joseph. Good afternoon to you either way. Right, so the screen fixture. So I'm running in AI here, obviously. We're going to go to the stage construction page. So the screen output page is used with the screen fixture itself, and just to confirm its real sort of functionality and methodology here, the screen fixture, when we use that, we're dealing with the texture or the image directly, rather than applying it to a 3D shape or doing anything crazy in real time with it. It's just the original video or texture itself, a flat two-dimensional texture. So we want a, I've already added one there, we go. We want our screen fixture here at the bottom. Now I'm generally using just the standard default screen here, and actually with the stuff we're going to do today it doesn't really matter what our model is here, but you can obviously bring other models into the fixture. You can just drag in 3D models if you've got anything else there on your system. Let me just go back to the original one there. So I'm going to set this up as being full HD, so over on the right I'm going to put in my horizontal and my vertical resolution in pixels, and I want to get this screen looking more the right shape, the right ratio. So I'm actually just going to change the scale width and the height here, and it starts off as 1 and 1 because that's the ratio of a square. So for instance, if I know that I want a 16:9 surface, we can just do that. I actually really need to cough, and I don't want you to think I've got the plague because I'm totally healthy. Bear with me. There we go, that's better. Okay, so we've got our screen surface, we've set our resolution. The actual physical position in our 3D world is not really too relative when we're using our screen output page as well, because as I say, we're directly accessing the texture that's being played rather than the result of the texture put on an object within 3D space. So let's step on over to the output page. In fact, let's get something useful on our screen first. So I'm going to go to the performance page and just throw a test pattern on there. I'm quite a fan of the test pattern. I'm going to just adjust my view a little bit. Shift and the left mouse button to rotate, Alt and the left to pan, and the middle mouse wheel to zoom. Shift and left, Alt and left. There we go, I'm quite happy with that. I'm actually just going to click save so that everything I've done so far is saved. Good to have you with us, Mr. SBS. That at least confirms my microphone is working. And hello to Talena and Toby as well. Good afternoon to everyone. I see we've got a lot more people out there actually tuned into the stream as well, so do feel free to jump in and ask any questions. I'm gonna, at the end of this session, I am actually going to ask if anyone has any topics they want looked at, or particular subjects or stuff like that, because we've got probably a fair bit of time coming up if we're all logical and honest about the current situation. And good afternoon to you too, Roger. Okay, so screen output page. So we've got our texture, we've got our image, sorry. We've got that on our screen. So we're going to go AI, the output section, and then the output page. Okay, so we looked at a couple of bits in the last session on here, but as I said, there's a few more things. We can go a little bit deeper, and I can throw a bit more pro knowledge in there as well for you. So what we'll do first, let's just make sure we've absolutely 100% covered everything that we've got in here and told you the few little things. So we've got our pointer tool at the left. That's really useful for selecting anything. The second one down is our region tool. So the common way of using this region tool is to use it as rectangles. So what that means is I can click my left button and drag my mouse and let go, and I can draw a rectangle. And so what we have is, we have on the left is the thing that we're taking from, the thing that we're sampling. So we're saying that this area within this rectangle is the piece that we want to sample, and we want to place it in a location within our output area. We saw the other day that if we want to be a little bit more precise on these, we've got some numerical boxes at the bottom of each side, one for the canvas region and one for the output region. Loosely they're the same. They both have a set of coordinates. They have a starting location, so this is the coordinates of the top left corner of the rectangle or region, and then we have the size from that point. So in this particular case we're saying that it's 472 pixels across by 354 pixels high, and it starts at 143 pixels on the X and 107 pixels on the Y. And we can see at the moment it's got 0 rotation applied. Let's just throw another couple of regions in there as well. Maybe something like that. So we can also, as we saw, we've got a location set of coordinates there, so I can even move my piece to wherever I want using those coordinates. Now we've also, on this bottom left box, we've got a dialog for selecting the region. So I don't know how easy this is to see on the webcast. Just above each region there is actually a label, a name. So I can see I've got SR3, SR2 and SR1. So it's just taken the default name, SR being a shortened version of screen region. Now you might want something a little bit more useful than that. So for instance, this bottom one here, I'm going to select that from the list, and then the name that it's using is shown here, so I can just type in a new name, bottom region, pressing enter. And you may or may not be able to see on the web, it depends what device you're looking on, it's actually renamed the piece there as well, and I can see on my output I also have the name for the region. So that can be quite useful. That's quite useful if you need to actually specifically choose a certain region It's really useful if you've got a very busy workspace as well with a lot of different pieces. So I'm just going to select all of those with Control A and delete. Press yes. I'm actually going to turn off that confirmation dialog. So I'm just going to my system settings here, and UI confirmation pop-ups, I'm going to just disable that. It's basically a message that's going to confirm. It will pop up every time you try and delete something, and it is good to be reminded of these things, but I'm fully aware of what I'm doing, so I'm just going to remove that. Good afternoon, Juan, as well. Good to have you with us, sir. Okay, so there is actually a second mode for this region tool. Now if you right click, you'll see that the icon itself changes to a set of hexagons. I'm just trying to work out how behind my stream. Okay. So I'm wondering if you're maybe hearing me talk out of sync. We'll work this out as we go along. I'm streaming multiple machines into another machine here, and I think I can see a video delay. Anyway, with the hexagon tool, the difference with the hexagon tool, so with the rectangle tool, we click and drag, and it just makes us a right-angled rectangle, and the points will always stay at right angles. They will stay perpendicular to each other, the edges. So with a hexagonal region, we actually can lay the points one at a time, like so. So obviously the benefit to this is that we can draw any shape we want, and we can select individual points. So you can see my point there is selected green. It gives us a lot more flexibility, but we just have to think a little bit more about what we're doing. So when we're in this mode, any coordinates we see, we can see it's got a size of 0, and it's because the system's not even going to try and calculate the x and y position for this, because you just get a confusing number. So instead we see 0 because on this mode we're purely talking about points rather than a region as a whole. So as I click through them, you'll see that you have unique sets of coordinates for each of those. Okay. So let's just have a quick think. I've got a trick now. I'm going to come back to that. I've got a really nice way of working that I'm going to come back and show you with the hexagonal regions in a little while. Okay, so let's just get a couple more bits in and just sort of see what we've got there. There we go. So our third icon down is our transform icon. So when we're talking in sort of 3D design and visual design, transform is to move something around. So this allows us basically to grab our pieces, move them to where we want. We've then got our scale icon, our scale tool. So with this you can scale all of your pieces, or if I'm just working on one piece, it's going to scale from the center of that piece. Reselect scale, there we go. So you can see there what it's doing is it's actually choosing its center point based on the current selection, so it's always the center of the current selection. We've got a rotation tool there, so you can see what's kind of going on there, and when we're doing rotation it's always treating the pieces individually rather than rotating as a group. Same on the output there. We have, let me just get rid of those, let me just draw a couple more. Cool. We have a rotation tool, a 90-degree rotation tool. So this one's actually more handy when you're just working with things like LED panels and you just want to be nice and accurate on your component rotation. Oh, I've stopped. So at this point Peter has noticed that I have forgotten to set my pointer to be picked up by NDI. There we go. So Peter Mays gets a bonus point for noticing that you couldn't see my mouse. So hopefully in a moment you're going to see a mouse. we go. Apologies for that. So now with a mouse, so just to confirm, I've been working these ones on the left. I was just about to look at the 90-degree rotation tool, which is kind of in the middle of the toolbar. If I had like stars like a teacher gives out, you would currently receive one, Peter. See, damn idiots, we don't have a clue what's going on half the time. You'd be amazed, I've been practicing this over the weekend and everything. Always remember to turn on my mouse pointer over NDI. Okay, so we had a free rotation tool there. I think I forgot to even mention, yeah, that's updates in the coordinate box there at the bottom as well. So I'm just going to reset that like that. We've also got 90-degree rotation, so this one is just more useful if you're dealing with like LED panels and one of your panels is maybe mounted incorrectly or it's rotated incorrectly in the processor. Instead of having to go in there and fiddle around, you can just come in and select just the specific panel that you want and sort of rotate it around like so. Obviously you can do the same with the rotation tool, but sometimes it's just nice and easy to have that 90-degree snapping. So we then have flip the texture on its horizontal axis, so it's flipping the left to the right and the right to the left. Flipping vertically, so the bottom to the top and the top to the bottom. Now let's just get rid of those. I'm just going to draw myself some nice squares because it's nice to have some good squares for this bit. So I'm going to give myself some coordinates using the numerical text box. Say 200, 200, and then I'm going to give myself an output position. So I'm going to start at 0 and 0, and I'm going to make these the same size, 200, 200. And when we're outputting, just if you're outputting to an LED screen, for instance, 1 pixel is always going to be 1 LED on your panel. So that would be if, for instance, I wanted to send this to a 200 by 200 panel. I've made it that many pixels in size. Anyway, I'm digressing now. I'm going to just copy and paste these. So it's Control C, Control V, 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 V. Yeah, maybe one more. There we go. V. I'm going to copy all of that. Control C, and I'm going to paste vertically by pressing Control Shift and V, 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 V. There we go. That'll do me that. I don't like that last row actually, so I'm going to just press delete. And then maybe I'm going to just adjust my texture up a little bit because I'm fussy like that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just roll this position box. Oh no, I shouldn't have done it like that. What I should have done is use the shortcut, which is Control Shift and left on the arrow keys. Control Shift up on the arrow keys. Yeah, that'll do me. That's kind of central. Okay, so what I actually wanted to show you here, and it just made more sense for me to have a grid of things, is this generative masking tool. So what I'll do, I'm just going to cycle through the options. So all it's doing is applying a mask to each individual region. So you can see on the right that I'm going through a few different shapes here. There we go. Start with things like triangles and circles and hexagons. And okay. So initially the idea is really that you can sort of break up your screen a bit, because I've done shows where we have this huge big solid bit of LED wall, but sometimes it's nice to just sort of to mask it up a bit and change it a bit. Goodness me, now I'm afraid I may have been shared to Everything Stage social media, so if any of you are unlucky enough to be listening to me via there, good afternoon to you. If you want to have a fiddle with AI, go to avolites.com/online resources. There are links to free versions of the software or demo versions of the software that we've got, and we're running classes a few days a week. There is a timetable on that page as well if you want to check it out. Now is a good time to get some extra skills in. Okay, So yeah, I've used these sort of masking tools on shows where I just have a huge slab of LED and I just don't want it to constantly be a big slab of LED. You can also do some sort of nice things where if you combine the different shapes, so you have some on some panels. Just do a really basic one here. You can sort of break up the edge. I mean, it's the same principle really. It's if you have just a big rectangle of light all evening, it's going to get a bit dull. I like to just be able to change things up a bit. So I think you kind of get the idea there. I'm pressing the wrong button. I've got too many screens to look at here at the moment. Okay, so last couple of tools we've got here are the, so one of these highlights the output, the section on the output, so you're flashing there. So what I'll do, in fact, let me just select maybe one of those. There we go. So that's really useful when you're trying to track down a specific panel or a specific component of your output. Sometimes it's easier to actually make the area flash so you can draw someone's attention to it. And then we've also got one that basically does the same, but it's highlighting the outside, the edge. It's highlighting it. Some people have a preference to work with edges as opposed to whole panels when they're highlighting things. Okay, so let's just get rid of that. In fact, what I should have done there, let's do that first. So on the right, we've got a couple of extra little tools. So we've looked at these top three before, but just to confirm what they are, this first one allows me to save. In fact, there we go. I've got 3 previous saves there, so I'm not even going to make some new ones here. The first one allows me to save my layout so that I can recall a specific layout. The second one allows me to load a specific layout, so I've got a full screen layout there. And in the third one, I can actually have multiple layouts assigned. Sorry, I'm kind of going through this one a little quickly because we looked at it the other day. And then that will allow me to jump between these different looks that I've got, like so. Let's just do that. Click off there. Okay, so there's a couple beyond this that I didn't look at the other day, and these last few here actually hold some quite useful little tools. So if I'm going to a show, obviously I can sort of cut things out like that. I can be very precise with my numbers. I can do all this stuff, but actually it can take a little while to set up. And sometimes actually you might have quite a complex design that you want to hand off to someone who maybe doesn't have as much as the same amount of experience. Maybe you want to make it a little bit easier for them. So what you can actually do, you can so I see there's a question there. I will jump on to that in a moment. You can actually create your layout as a 3D model. Now I'm going to kind of skim over this because I intend to have another session. It looks to me like the internet's giving up on me as well. So I can't really tell if I'm streaming there. I'm going to just continue basically. Okay, so I was saying that we can... I don't think this is streaming. Okay, I'm being told that I am good. Weirdly, the preview to me looks like it's not streaming. I'm being told by multiple people it's good, so we're just going to go for it basically. So you can do this with a 3D model. 3D modeling I'm going to do a whole other tutorial on. We're not going to go crazy, but it's a really useful skill for loads of things, whether you're doing media servers or if you're doing visualization for lighting consoles, or if you're doing sort of CAD design of stages. A really useful skill. So we'll have a thing on that. It's something I really enjoy doing. Anyway, long story short, if I go down to this button here, this OBJ button, if I go into my things folder, so in fact what I'm going to show you, I've got a texture to go with this. So let's say this is our texture. So actually my texture is full HD on here, and this is actually how I want it to look. This is my physical set of panels. So I've only got panels where there's coloured squares. Okay, that's weird. It's definitely just Facebook being weird and telling me it's not streaming while it's clearly streaming. But obviously for a processor you'd probably want to have it laid out something a bit more like that. Now again, this is something you could do manually. I can, from this texture on my output page, I can cut the pieces and put them where I want. But if you can do it with a model, why not do it with a model? So I've got my texture there. I'm going to go down to my Load OBJ folder button. I'm going to go into my folder that I've sensibly called Things, and I've got this one here. And when I open that, you'll see that this model knows which parts are applied to which parts of the model. So each of these is a different section, and it also knows where to place them. To give you a really quick description to those that understand 3D modeling, basically each of these each pixel on the output is one unit, I think it's 1 meter unit in your 3D modeler of choice, and basically I've just UV mapped it so that the panels take the correct bit of the texture, kind of as you expect, but you physically lay the pieces out like this on the right within your 3D modeler. Anyway, we're going to look at that properly, so don't worry if that made no sense what I just said then, but to some people that will hopefully make a lot of sense what I just said. So that's really great, because it means that whoever's on the end, you can get them to load this model up and it's going to be perfectly on your outputs as it should be. Now another really useful tool we have, let's just get rid of that test pattern. Just below that, this is the template button. It actually says load a mask, but I think it is a template button. I'm going to press this. No, it is a template. So what this does is this will load us an image. Let's go there. In fact, I'm just going to... No, I think if I go there... Oh my goodness, I'm having one of those moments where my brain has just completely given up on me. Let's just throw in a test pattern. So what this is doing, it's slightly greyed out, and you will only see it in your preview. So I think I'm going to try something here. Hopefully this is now going to change to another. Let's go to that one there. Okay, so I think that's just reconnected. Yay, I think I'm back in the room. So I think that was Facebook just refusing. I was still streaming all that time. Anyway, let's go a bit further. So the nice thing with this template, this button here, Okay, so basically, there is only 15 minutes of this time left. I think because I can see that Facebook keeps disconnecting me and keeps reconnecting me, and it's doing wonders for my flow. Okay, last couple of sneaky tips before it cuts me off again then. I'm going to sort of rush a little bit just so that I can actually get my words in. The last one down here, so this, you'll notice, like most other tools in here, they've all got tool tips and everything. So this little sneaky one down here doesn't have a tool tip. This one allows you to load Resolume output mappings. So I don't think I've got one that's right. No, I don't. Basically, you know, like we're doing here with our output mapping, you can do the same thing in Resolume, and you can actually save it and export it from Resolume. And it's quite common now for events to send out a Resolume mapping. So if you use that button there, you can load a Resolume mapping straight into your system. Okay, so I was going to say at the end that so I was going to open the room to see if anyone had any ideas of upcoming tutorials they would like to see. Just to confirm, on my cards there's going to be one later this week, and I'm going to concentrate on using the projectors and doing video mapping and vertex editing. I am going to do one with like time code and MIDI control and stuff like that. I'm discussing with Sam at the moment how we do this and which way we approach it, but there's going to be a synergy tutorial at some point. There is going to be probably, I think I'll do, like I said, a 3D modelling tutorial as well. I'm now scrabbling to find my list and remember what else I said I'd look at. Oh, we're going to do a timeline tutorial. Salvation tutorial. I know that will be quite a popular one. Salvation is all the modular node-based stuff that we have on the back end. It's one of these things that if you're scared of it, then you probably shouldn't touch it. But if you are not scared of it, then it's a really powerful tool. So someone cool. So okay, cool. The NDI is a really good suggestion as well from Joseph there. Yeah, output patching, that'll be within the Salvation stuff. I'm trying to work out a way that I can do auto blend as a video tutorial, but it's taking me a little bit of lateral thinking because I don't have any projectors here at home at the moment. I've got a couple of screens. In fact, leave that idea with me though. Okay. So I'm going to note that down. In fact, Juan is suggesting using YouTube for webinars. I have no experience of this, but I will point it out, have a look, and okay, that is a good idea, Ruben. Unfortunately, I do not have a clue with capture, but it's a good idea. Un moment, Mohamed, je traduis dans ma tête. I'm not entirely getting what you're something about passing the time. It's your domain that I am. I said perhaps you could help to pass the time. I'm sorry. I'm not entirely sure if I understood everything you said there, Mohammed. If you are able to do me a let's see what the translation says. Actually, I hate using YouTube translation. This is your, yeah. Pardon Mohamed, je traduis et je comprends pas. Peut-être c'est le traduit de Facebook. Ça ne marche pas quelquefois. Et moi, je n'ai pas compris exactement. Je pas un peu. Okay, so what I'm probably going to do at this point, I've kind of given up on the internet. It's popping out and popping in for me so regularly now. Anyway, if you have any further thoughts, let me just switch this over a little bit. Let us go to web address. Thank you very much as well for Ian Scott. See, we used to use that and then we stopped using it for some reason, and I'm kind of thinking we may anyway, we can work this out. So I put our address on the screen, that's the word I'm looking for. C'est chouette Mohammed. That probably makes me sound like I'm about 6. Yeah, so www.avolites.com/online resources. I think predictably I'm not going to archive this one because the internet has not been. Maybe I'll check it back and then see what I think. But the internet has not been kind to me today. Avolites.com/online resources. You've got the timetable up there for stuff coming up. Today is a short day. This session is going to be cut by Facebook in about 6 of our good minutes. Thank you, Sam, for throwing the link up there as well. You are a man legend. For those of you that don't know Sam is I don't know the best description for him really. He's probably best to say that he's simultaneously a trainer, a man out there in the world of shows, and an all-round generally good guy, and also slightly freaky that I'm now dealing with Dave's son rather than Dave, but that's a good thing. But yeah, Sam knows his stuff. Okay, I'm going to leave Sebastian to answer that one because there's some words in there that I'm not as entirely familiar with. I totally understand that Joseph is talking about. Sending NDI. Anyway, I'm going to stop trying to read German now. Okay. So I think that maybe I'm going to call that one a day there. So Friday is going to be about projection mapping. It's going to be about projection output. And yeah, let's see what we do about whether, if we do choose an alternative streaming method, the next sessions are Wednesday, so if we do choose an alternative streaming method, the information will be on avolites.com/online resources, and we'll plaster it all over the interweb as well. Okay, and so obviously if you've got any okay, so I'm going to quickly approach that first because I'll just do that one visually. That was a question from Joseph. Let me go back to my GUI here and transform that one in. There we go. Okay, so there was a quick question there for patching the NDI sender. Okay, so at the moment, if you want to send NDI, so NDI is a protocol for sending video over a network connection. It's a really useful tool. I'm actually using it here quite a lot. You just can't see it at the moment. So I'm sending video from a media server into my laptop and broadcasting from the laptop. Anyway, easiest way. Let's do this in a nice way. So okay, so in this particular example, I've got a full HD texture. And I want to send all of that texture. So to add the NDI sender, if I just want to take the texture itself, I'm going to do that here. So what I'll do is I'll very quickly build, and I have to remember which version I'm on. There we go. NDI scanner. No, I don't need that. Do I need a sender? My goodness. NDI sender. There we go. We're going to go one of those. It has a yellow connection. All yellow connections by default must have a window at the end of the chain because they're OpenGL, and therefore the yellow makes it a valid link. We're going to go like that. Boom. So if I want to send just a flat unmodified 2D texture, this is the best way to connect it. So this is just taking all of that 1920 1080 resolution and it's sending it as 1920 1080 at 30 frames a second. I can name it there if I want, I can change resolutions, all that stuff. If you want to just take a specific part of that texture, if you right click and do insert system patch, there is sample texture regions. That is going to require a slight repatching now. I'm going to save that one for when we do the salvation trick, because I can actually make that a bit nicer. Now if I want, here's a little trick, Control G to group those modules into a single patch. If I want to send the result of an output page, if you go into the AI output section here at the bottom left, I was just trying to think in Spanish for a moment then, and my brain was freezing. So this was the AI outputs patch. Inside of here, each of these OP modules is a separate output page. So you know at the top of the output page we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Output page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I wanted to send the result of one of those, and this grey module is where all the keystoning and grid warping happens, I'd probably want to put it on the end of this point here. Now I'm going to just paste, I actually saved my little patch there, I copied it over. Now you'll notice that that's got a green texture input, whereas that is a yellow texture output. So going in green and coming out of yellow is easy, that's just a rectangle module. But to go yellow to green, we need to use two GL modules. We are going to use clear, boom, and then we are going to use GL render to texture, boom, like so. Hook that up, connect that in there, jobs are good. So if I wanted to take the result of the output page and the keystoning and send that over NDI, that's what I do there basically. Cool. As with anything though, this really is, you can do this wherever you want to in the system, and that's when I do a salvation session. We'll have a proper look at these. I'll show you some sort of real pros and cons. We'll dig a little bit deeper. I probably will give a sanity warning in advance for the people that don't want to touch this stuff, because I do. My Spanish has just failed me entirely. Yo habla poco español. Ruben y habla mucho español. And he is also doing some webcasts as well, I believe, so it's worth checking out. There we go. In fact, Ruben Lane, www.facebook.com/creativeintegrationstudio/live/ for all of your, well, not all, but some of your video needs, and some of them are in Spanish as well. There we go, Sebastian as well. Sebastian's been really good at pushing his avolites.de wiki, avolites.de/wiki/AI_knowledge_base. Base. That, my brain popped to about 20 years ago when I was in a club. Base. Okay, brilliant. Anyway, I feel like at this point I'm just kind of wittering at you, and so rather than do that, I would implore you to check out all the other excellent resources that have come up, and yeah, let's call that a day there. So thank you very much for tuning in.